I went from being this boss woman, entrepreneur woman that I thought everyone would want me to be, to the next day, I had no idea who I was. I lost everything materialistic, and I only had me and God. Identity, it's not what you do, the house you live in, how much money there is in your bank account, friends you have. Identity is who you are when there's no one in the room but you and God. That's who you are. That's your identity. There was no one in the house. I was in London and my whole body was also hurting. I tried to reach for medication. I remember that was my turning point. That was my point of surrender. I fell on my knees and I said to God, this is me. I have nothing to offer you. At that moment, I just cracked open and started crying. And I started being like, I'm afraid, I'm scared. But then as I was crying, as I was in my room on my knees, it's when I realized what God was doing and who God created me to be. Welcome to another episode of House of Impact Podcast. This is your host, Geni, and I am so blessed, so thankful, so grateful that you are with us today. Before we go into this episode, I only have one thing to ask you, and that is if you've been enjoying the show, if the show has had an impact on you, on your loved ones, please make sure to subscribe. A lot of you are not subscribed, probably like 60%. We're trying to get those numbers down, and it really helps the show when you subscribe, so make sure that you do that. And without further ado, let's roll into the episode. In today's episode, I want to talk about a topic that is actually starting to be trending now, but I've talked about this for quite a long time. So if this episode found you today, if you've watching House of Impact because you have a dream, you have a goal, you have a vision for yourself in your life, you just want to be better, you just want to heal and grow, I hope this episode finds you today. I want to talk about identity today. And I say identity because I've seen a lot of trends going around about reinvent yourself and about cultivate self-love and self-worth. And I want to say, I feel like probably a lot of us, and maybe you as well, we don't know exactly who we are until something bad happens in our life and we have to restructure our whole lives and rebuild our whole lives. And today I'm here to hopefully tell you that you do not need to hit rock bottom to uncover who you are and who God created you to be, who you can be. And this episode, I feel like I want to tell you straight away that you do not need to wear a mask in order to be seen, loved, heard, in order to have success, in order to make it to the top of your industry. You really don't. And I thought that's what I had to do for 7 years of my life. I thought I had to do to be this amazing boss woman in order to be taken seriously, in order to get into rooms that otherwise I wouldn't be able to get into. And I realized the very hard way a year and a half ago that I was running a business that I did not want to run. I was living a life that it was not my life. I was having friendships that were not even aligned, and I was being a daughter that I did not feel it was me. So I was just running my life wearing a mask, and behind closed doors, I was crying and praying for a change, and I had no idea who I was. I completely lost myself. I did not know it got to a point that I did not know my morals. I did not know my vision. I did not know my values. I didn't know who I was. And that happened when all the materialistic things that I was clinging myself into got basically gone out of my life. So my rise apartment, like my amazing, beautiful apartment in London, that was gone. The past relationship I was in, that was gone. The business I've built and worked so hard to build for 5 years, gone. A lot of the friendships that I had for the past 5 years were also gone. And a lot of the money that I made, gone. So I went from one day I'm making six figures, multiple six figures, living in this high-rise London apartment, having like a partner and just, being this boss woman, entrepreneur woman that I don't know, that I thought everyone would want me to be, to the next day, I I had no idea who I was. I lost everything, materialistic, like everything. And I only had me and God. And I kept praying for redemption and for clarity on who I was. And I realized a year later that identity is who you are when there's no one in the room, when there's no light in the room, but it's you and God. That's who you are. That's your identity. Identity, it's not what you have. Identity is not what you do. Identity is not how much money there is in your bank account. Identity is not how much friends you have. Identity is not the house you live in. Identity is who you are in that moment when the lights are low or are switched off and you're just sharing that moment with you and God. That's who you are. That's your identity. And I had to learn that the hard way. And I was always operating from a place of performance instead of a place of being, and from a place of authenticity and from a place of alignment, which led me to being really unhappy. And what's happiness? Happiness is an emotion, but happiness, if I could describe it in a way that's really clear, is like happiness is when you are aligned with your purpose and with what you're doing. It brings you, it makes you feel happy, right? And happiness is lack of alignment, misalignment on things that are not you, misalignment on things that are not bringing you closer to where you want to be in life. And I had to learn that the hard way. And one of the things that I asked myself, and probably something that you can also do if you're watching or listening to this, I would really encourage you to actually grab a pen and paper and write this down and see what you get. But I asked myself this question. When did I have to become someone I was not? Why? And where was I? And for who, right? Because we always put a mask for people because there's something that we don't want them to see. So I asked myself that question. And when I asked myself that question, I started untangling a lot of the things that I was doing in my life, like how I was making decisions, what type of decisions I was making. The business I was running, how I was running my business, how I was running my team, where I was living, the country I was living, the place I was living, the type of friends I had. And I started really untangling all of that and really going deep. And I realized like my whole life was a performance. My whole life at some point became a lie. I created it that way because I thought that who I truly was and what I really wanted was not going to be perceived as, I was not going to be accepted. I was not going to be loved. And so I created a parallel reality, which is completely opposite to who God has created me to be, just because I had to perform, just because that's how I was doing life and I didn't know any better at that point. And so what that got me is into 5 years of survival mode, fly or fight mode, of reactiveness in my business, in my life, of being swayed around, just trying to fit in. And so if there's something that I really want to say is like, you do not need to fit in, because the people that are really your people, they will love you for you. And whenever they stop loving you for you, I think that it's more deeper than that. I think it's more like, who are you trying to protect here? Because whenever we talked about identity and whenever we talked about achieving the life that we want to achieve, there's something within ourselves that it's not letting us be who we truly are and who God created us to be. And there gets a point where you just feel like the way you've been doing your life, the way like things that you thought you wanted, you don't want. Things that you thought you liked, you don't like. And so you get into this so-called midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, whatever you want to call it, identity crisis. And then you're just like, who am I? Who am I here? Like, why am I here? Like, what am I here to do? And it gets really difficult if you're not rooted in faith or if you do not believe that there's something bigger than you, because that's really who you are when no one's looking and when you're just in your room spending time with God and there's nothing else but you and Him. And I think identity is another concept that it's starting to be more talked about in the self-development industry and all of that. But if you do not know why you're here and who God created you to be, it's going to be really difficult to actually align your values, your morals, your mind, your belief system to the life that you know you can have and create. And when that happened for me, that was I spent a year walking around with this massive gray cloud over my head, just thinking like I was just like, what's the point of like just like even being here? I got to that point, and I remember there was this day. It was a month before I started traveling, before I came to Austin, and I remember I was feeling so anxious and I had massive panic attacks. My whole body was also hurting, which never happened before. So I was really, really scared. I just thought something really bad was going on with me health-wise. I was not doing good, and I tried to reach for medication. I tried to reach for, it was like 1 a.m. in the morning and I was alone. There was no one in the house. I was in London and I was just not doing good. And I remembered that was my turning point. That was my point of surrender of like, this is me. I just fell on my knees on my bed and I said to God, like, this is me. I have nothing to offer you. I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to lead my business or how to lead the podcast. I was having a really, really hard time, and I just wanted to really give up. And I remember at that moment, I just cracked open and started crying, and I started being like, I'm afraid, I'm scared. But then, as I was crying and as I was in my room on my knees with almost no light, but just me in that moment, it's when I realized what God was doing and who God created me to be and why I started this podcast in the first place. And it's because it's a bridge and it's a light of faith and hope to others and to me. So when I had that moment, it's when I realized like I don't have to perform. I don't have to be someone I'm not. And I don't have to fake it till you make it. I just have to be me. That's how I have to show up and that's how I have to build. That's how I have to bring the best I can to this world. And so from that one onwards, I've been really working a lot on that. And I just don't feel like I have to perform anymore. So when you get to that point yourself, when you go, when you don't have to perform and you just have to be and you just have to become and you just have to really work on like what's really holding you back from being you and from getting rid of all the things that people have said that you are, but you truly are not. It's when a lot of things in your life happen. Like it's when the wildest opportunities happen is when you truly attract like love or get better at your marriage or are an amazing, I mean, I don't know, but it's like that's a turning point, and that's who you are. And I really want to speak into this because we live in a hustle culture. We live in like a performance culture, even with podcasts. Like, I'm just not sitting here and performing. Like, this is me. This is what I went through. And I know a lot of you are going through this too. And you don't have to be someone you're not to achieve the life that you want. You don't have to be someone you're not or become someone you're not in order to be loved or to feel heard or to make it to the top of your industry. You truly don't have to, because if you do, at some point you're going to crash, and the crash sometimes is way worse than when you're at the top. So like, that is something that I feel like I really wanted to share with you. And if you have people in your surroundings that are making you feel like you have to perform all the time, otherwise you're not going to be loved and you're not going to be accepted, I think it's time for you to start reconsidering what, like, your life, who you are allowing, and where you are operating from. Because all of the times you are not operating from your true self. You are operating from all your trauma. You are operating from all the times people said no to you and all the times people hurt you. You're operating from that pain. If you keep operating from that pain, and this is something that I take really seriously, there will be a point where you won't be able to do it anymore, and your whole life will just have to be redesigned, and that takes a long time. And that's why I said, like, I don't want to for you to hit rock bottom to realize about this. There are a lot of areas in your life that probably you're not operating from your true self, from how God created you, from your authentic self. So just do an audit. What are the areas? What's one area that I am not operating as my true self? Is that business? Is that in relationships? Is that in family dynamics? Is that within myself? Like, what's an area that you can start working today? And I feel like when you truly do this, and when you start uncovering all these lies and all these false limiting beliefs about yourself, and you truly go back to when was the first time I had to start performing in order to feel loved and be loved, that's going to change your life. It's going to change your life, and you're going to see so many miracles and so many blessings happen in your life. It changed mine, and I really hope that it will change yours. And this will be all for today's episode. And I really hope that this episode serves as encouragement and as a bridge for you to really become who you were always meant to be, and for you to realize that you do not need to perform love to be loved, and you do not need to be someone that you're not, to be seen, to be heard, and to just have the opportunities that God wants to bring you, and that life will just readjust around what you decide you want to do and who you really want to become, because you're already that person within yourself. So this is all for me. I will see you guys next Thursday. Please don't forget to subscribe. And if you feel like someone needs to listen to this today, if someone needs to hear this, someone needs to watch this, please send them to this episode, because that's what we are here to do. And I will see you on the next one.